I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I've been a big Spider-Man fan for as long as I can remember. I think there's a chance I was somehow born a Spider-Man fan. And I've been a Dungeons and Dragons fan for a few years now. So with the new movie coming out, I decided, why not both? Today, I want to make Spider-Man as a player character in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to be focusing on Peter Parker, so we won't be spending much time talking about Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, Miguel O'Hara, or any of the other variant Spider-Man. I do think we should go with Monk for Spider-Man as a class. The speed and the dexterity just make a lot of sense for Spidey. Fury of Blows works well to show how fast he can fight. Step of the Wind shows how agile he can be in a fight. His costume should not count as armor. The unarmored defense giving him an extra 10 feet of movement speed is incredible here. At third level, he can deflect or catch a missile, which is really good for Spidey sense. Evasion at 7th level is also really good for Spidey sense. His inherent agility just makes it easier for him to dodge out of AoE attacks. So if he has to make a dexterity saving throw, he takes half damage on a fail and 0 damage on a success. For a subclass, I think Drunken Master works really well for 5e. I considered Way of the Open Hand, but the level 17 ability is a little bit too deadly. Pretty much you can hit somebody and they'll die later if they hit 0 hit points. It's crazy. I am not explaining it very well, but it is a crazy ability that you guys should look into. It's insane that this was in 5e. Being able to use 5 feet of movement speed instead of half of your speed to get up from prone is really good here and shows how quick Spider-Man is to recover. Redirecting the attack to hit another enemy makes a lot of sense here. How many times have you seen Spider-Man in a fight move an enemy's weapon or something, like if Doc Ock is using his arm to hit a different villain, or just jumping out of the way when Vulture is coming at him? He makes enemies attack each other every time he fights groups of enemies. So I think thematically it just makes a lot of sense. Making an overwhelming number of attacks against a group of enemies works really well here because, like I just said, he fights groups a lot. I do think you could make a homebrew class for Spider-Man, but I don't think it's necessary. I think it works really well here. If you want a homebrew monk subclass, I would recommend, there is a Reddit post from like 7 years ago made by a guy named Mr. Trusty Cool Guy, or Mick Trusty Cool Guy, that is incredible. He did a very good job. And then there is an entire Spider-Man class on Reddit. I don't remember who made it. I would go and check that out if you're interested in that as well. Pretty much it's like the Spider People. So there's different subclasses depending on the Spider-Man. And I think it's pretty cool. In 5.5e, I don't think there's a lot of changes for Spider-Man. The monk is just better. At level 2, you can roll initiative once a day and regain all focus points and some of your hit points. That's a very good ability. Deflect missiles becomes deflect attacks. So as a reaction, he could reduce bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. If that damage is reduced to 0, he could redirect that attack to another enemy, and that's incredible. Like, that's a very good ability. Because like I said, he just makes people hit each other all the time. Stunning strikes are better. Even if the attack doesn't stun, it still halves the speed, and the next attack against them is made with advantage, which is insane. That's just a really cool ability. 9th level's acrobatic movement eliminates the need for the slippers of spider climbing that I'm going to be talking about in a moment, as long as you don't need to walk on the ceiling. So it allows you to walk on vertical surfaces in liquids, so you can walk on walls like Spider-Man. You just can't walk on the ceiling with this ability. The Way of the Drunken Master is not an option in 5.5, but the Warrior of the Open Hand is actually a good choice here. Instead of the incredibly deadly 17th level ability, you just do an insane amount of damage against the enemy. Like, it's just a good amount of damage, and I think that works really well for Spider-Man because he can hit incredibly hard. So let's talk about some flavoring. Some people have suggested making Spider-Man a Dampier. This would work well for Miles Morales and Miguel O'Hara. Miles could flavor the natural bite as like his Venom Strike, and Miguel O'Hara just has fangs. Like, he's pretty much already a vampire, so Dampier works really well. If you don't know what a Dampier is, it's like a half vampire or somebody that was somehow changed by a vampire. It's not a full vampire. Instead of Dampier, I would just give Spider-Man the slippers of spider climbing. that I just mentioned. It allows him to just use spider climb so he can walk on the walls and the ceilings, and that just works really well for him. I just wouldn't bring it up. It would be part of his Spider-Man costume. The DM would know about it. I would tell the other players about it, but I wouldn't bring it up very often just to make it feel more like Spider-Man. I would personally just make Spider-Man a human. Human is a good species. I don't think there's any issues with it. It gives him a lot of pluses to his abilities. I think Spider-Man could just be a human. Webs are a bit more difficult to flavor. You could give him a wand that has charges of the web spell. I think that would work incredibly well here. Another option is to just flavor attacks to be webs. So instead of punching, maybe sometimes his unarmed strike is like a ball of web. Instead of missile catching, maybe he uses a web to catch the missile before it reaches him. Like, it doesn't change the ability at all, but it does flavor it a little bit. We can talk about some multi-classing options here. I've seen some people say that Spider-Man should be an artificer. I understand that. He's a genius who has invented a lot of his gadgets, but I don't think the flavor of artificer in D&D works well for Spider-Man. You could make an artificer subclass that is Spider-Man, that has like web slingers and stuff like that. I think that would work incredibly well. I'm sure somebody has already done it, but I don't think right now the artificer fits very well. Instead, I would just give him high intelligence and magic items like the slippers of spider climbing. You could also multi-class him into Bard. Spider-Man is an entertaining guy. Like, he's a fun dude who makes a lot of quips and everything. I think that dipping 2 levels into Bard would be okay. That would give him Bardic Inspiration, and it would give him Jack of all trades, which I think would both be really good here. Bardic Inspiration just makes sense because a lot of the time in team-up fights, he is just shouting words of encouragement to his allies. So I think it just makes a lot of sense. Only 2 levels into Bard doesn't give you the web spell, so if you want the web spell, you would have to dip 3 levels into Bard. So if you wanted to, that's certainly an option. The biggest drawback to this is balancing your skills. To be a Bard, you would need a high charisma. To be an artificer multi-class, you would need high intelligence. Do you want high intelligence because he's a genius? Do you want high charisma because he's a lovable guy? Do you want high wisdom for his high perception because of Spidey sense? How about high strength for his super strength? Or high constitution because of his durability? I think the only given here is going to be his high dexterity, because he needs to be able to move fluidly. But Spider-Man is good at every single stat in D&D, so it is very difficult to make a character exactly like Spider-Man. I would focus on things like constitution, probably. Maybe intelligence. You can roleplay him as being a little bit more charismatic, even if his stats don't align with that, as long as your DM is fine with it. As long as it doesn't change the game. Like, yeah, he has high charisma, but like, oh, he's a charismatic guy, but maybe he's not actually good at like persuasion and deception and stuff. Personally, I just wouldn't multi-class here. I would just keep him as a monk. I think monk just works incredibly well here. It fits all of the boxes that I need to tick for Spider-Man. So let me know in the comments, is there a different class or a different species you would pick for Spider-Man? Do you think that we should just homebrew something instead of trying to fit him into a class? Do you think superheroes just don't work well for D&D? Are there other heroes you want me to look at? I think it would be great to tackle some of the X-Men, like Nightcrawler and Gambit. Maybe like Jean Grey would be fun. I mean, there's some cool things you could do there. Just let me know in the comments if there are other heroes you want me to tackle or just other characters from popular media. I like making these videos. Let me know if you want me to do a deeper dive into this video. Like, I could actually build Peter Parker from the ground up. I could give him ability scores and magic items and stuff like that. Just let me know in the comments if that is something you would be interested in. Other than that, guys, I hope everybody is having an amazing day. I hope you get the opportunity to see the movie soon. I'm super excited. And until next time, guys, peace.